Hi guys, this is Mr. Assassin and I'm here today to do the 7 Deadly Sins chapter 119, so 119. And today's chapter we get a lot of information about the 10 Commandments. But before we get to that, I want to talk about a little bit about Hendrickson, about Meliodas' abilities, about the abilities of the sacred treasures. So we have a lot to talk about in this chapter. The first thing we find out is that Hendrickson is still alive and he wants to warn the 7 Deadly Sins and the king, and apparently he has his mind back right now. He understands what danger the 10 Commandments pose, and he wants to help the 7 Deadly Sins defeat the 10 Commandments, and he also wants to rescue Dreyfus from the creature that is currently possessing him. And that is okay, but I don't know how he's going to make it, because right now he's almost dead. He seems like he cannot get back to the kingdom, but he has a part to play in this, so we have to see. The second thing is, and one of the most important things, that the 10 Commandments are not at full power. In fact, their power is depleted right now, and they don't exactly tell us what depleted means, but we can make a presumption and say that their current power is probably 10-20%, 30 if you want to be generous, but that's what depleted means. It's almost at zero, so even 30% is very generous. I will put it somewhere at 15-20% of their true power, and this coordinates with the powers of Garan, which are 26,000 according to the master of the leftovers, Hawk. So if Garen's powers are depleted, he's at 15-20%, and his current power is 26,000. Then if you do a quick calculus, mathematical calculus, you would realize that his true power when he's at 100% is probably 130 or 140,000. They had trouble defeating the Albion Giant. In fact, if it wasn't for Meliodas and his full counter, some of them would have been very hurt. They would have been wounded. And the Albion Giant had a power level of 5,000, so how are they going to defeat this guy at full power? Well, they're probably going to defeat him now since he's depleted, and he's probably going to have to retreat, or even if they kill him, the other guys are more powerful than him. I bet that this is the weakest guy of all the others, because this is how the manga goes. They will not send in the main bad guy at first. They would send some weak guy, and even though this guy is not weak in comparison to them, Garan is not weak in comparison to them, he's still weak in comparison to the other guys, to the other 10 Commandments. And we can tell that the others are more powerful than this guy, because when he wants to go and fight, the little guy steps in and he forbids it at first. So and this guy takes it. He doesn't say anything in reply, and obviously that's the captain of the team, I would say, probably the captain. So he's probably the most powerful. It stands to logic. Now the girl with the tentacles, the fluffy tentacles or whatever, says something very interesting. It says that she says that one of the Albion Giants was defeated by a force almost double of the Albion Giant force. So that would be a force of 10,000 or 11,000, somewhere there. And the other Albion Giant was self-destructed, and that's because of Meliodas' full counter. The Albion Giant was destroyed with his own power. So now we can tell that King with the unsheathed chastifold, with the true form of chastifold, has somewhere around 1100 power, and I'll talk about that later. Another thing we have to talk about is the abilities that the sacred treasures have. For example, Lost Vein has the ability to create clones. Now that's not the ability of Meliodas, as I previously thought. That's the ability of the sacred treasure. And that means that all of the sacred treasures have hidden abilities. Now, we saw this with King, because the Chastifol can transform into different things and heal and protect and all of that stuff. But we all thought that was because of the sacred tree. But apparently, all of the sacred weapons, depending on what they were forged from, have different abilities. And Lost Vein has the ability to create clones. And Diane's hammer has another ability, and she says it has an ability, but we don't get to hear what she actually says because we get interrupted by Elizabeth and the guy with the iron face, I forget his name. To get back to the story, the guy, Garon, one of the 10 Commandments, chooses to go and fight with Meliodas because he figures that the Albion giant that got defeated with his own strength was defeated by Meliodas. It stands to reason. And he just jumps there. He makes the distance in 72 steps. And he said that he got rusty, that he was supposed to do it in 70 steps. Whatever, it doesn't matter. The thing is that he's there. We're going to see a fight between him and the 7 deadly sins. I mean, a part of the 7 deadly sins. Hawk looks at his power level. His power level is 26,000, so we're going to see a short scuffle here. We'll see what happens. And that's basically the chapter. Now what I wanted to talk about is these power-ups. So since this series is a mix-up of different other series, like, I will say it again and again, like Bleach, like Fairy Tail, like Claymore, like I had other series, but they don't come to mind right now. They get power-ups. In some series, the characters train to get their powers. Like, for example, the greatest example is in Dragon Ball Z. Whenever Goku needed a power-up, he needed to train with King Kai or the Supreme Kai or whatever. Of course, he got the Super Saiyan power up, but that's because he trained before and he accessed his genes. But that's not important. In some mangas, the characters train to get their powers. In other mangas, they get their powers like boost. And in this particular manga, in the 7 deadly sins,七つの大罪, they get their powers from the sacred treasures. And I'm not sure if I like it or not, because these sacred treasures were first described as being something that allows them to tap into their power. Like the 7 deadly sins had a very big amount of magical power, but they were not able to channel it at a bigger level. And they needed the sacred treasures to channel their magical power in a bigger way, in a more powerful way. But that was the explanation from the beginning of the manga. As the manga unfolded, the sacred treasures got more and more powerful. Like in the last chapter, the sacred treasures got a second form, and we see that with King's Chastifol. It's got a second form, and it doubles King powers, maybe even triples it, but I won't go there. And in this chapter, we find out that they have even more powers because they have special abilities. And I'm afraid that every time they will encounter a powerful foe, they would get a power up from their sacred treasures. Like, let's say 50 chapters from now, they will be battling Demon King, and the Demon King is going to be very powerful, and Meliodas is suddenly going to say, oh yeah, Lost Vein has this secret ability that I couldn't use before because it was very dangerous, but in this case I will use it. And this secret ability can destroy an entire kingdom in one blast. Like, what the fuck? Well, and they could do that because now a precedent has been set where every time they are in trouble, their sacred treasures gain new abilities, and by doing so they win their battles. And now I don't want the author of this manga to simply base his writing on that. Like every time there's a problem, or their sacred treasures got a new ability and they escape. That takes the whole fun out of it. But for the time being, we'll have to deal with what we are given. So now the sacred treasures have another form, another unleashed form, and they also have special abilities. Like Lost Vein has the ability to create clones, and depending on how many clones he uses, his power gets downsized. It doesn't matter. So I'm waiting for the next chapter. I really want to see what Garen has installed for them. So please rate, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Have a nice day.
Any rational society would either kill me or put me to some use.